The prisoner squat is a basic bodyweight version of the squat that involves holding your hands behind your head, retracting your scapula to maintain an upright posture, and then squatting down until your thighs are about parallel to the floor. Keep your knees in line with your feet and lead the movement by sitting the hips back. This is a great exercise for teaching beginners basic squat technique while improving posture and hip flexibility. The goblet squat involves holding a kettlebell or dumbbell in front of your chest very close to your body, with your elbows pointing straight down towards the floor. Basic squat technique remains the same. Knees are lined up over the feet, sit the hips back, and keep your lower back in slight extension. Aim to squat down until your thighs are at least parallel to the floor. Although depending on your hip flexibility and core strength, you may find it challenging to keep your back in slight extension and to prevent it from rounding in the bottom position, as you can see here. Therefore, gradually increase your range of motion as your strength and stability allow. With the dumbbell box squat, keep your knees aligned directly over top of your feet, with the weights held in each hand extended at your sides, as if carrying 2 suitcases. Control your breathing and try to exhale on the exertion. Maintain a neutral spine and sit your hips back into the squat position, pushing through both feet evenly. Your heels should remain in contact with the floor. A more challenging variation of this exercise is the barbell box squat. The basic execution remains the same, except that the weight is supported on a bar across the shoulders and upper back. Avoid rounding your back and control the movement at all times. Use a squat rack to safely get the weight into position on your back initially. Briefly pause at the bottom position and keep your core tight, but be sure not to bounce at the bottom or rock backwards. We're going to demonstrate this powerlifting style back squat, which is a low bar, wide stance.
Okay, first I'll just talk about my gear. I'm using weightlifting shoes that have a solid sole. The key when you're doing these strength exercises is you want a firm connection with the ground. So squishy Nike shocks, not recommended. Alright, so we're going to get set up. The key with setting up for the back squat is making sure that your back is nice and tight and your core is nice and tight. Because between the bar on your shoulders and your feet at the ground, usually the limiting factor can be how strong your core is. So you want to make sure when you set up, your shoulders are back, your scapula, your shoulder blades are retracted, your lower back is nice and tight, your lower back is in what they call extension, not flexion, which is round. You stand up straight, try and set up in as few steps as possible. For me, I try and set up in 2 steps. Head back, not looking up, but head back. Scapula retracted, lower back in extension, and then bending at the hips first. Down, change direction, back up. And I just want to talk about belts. The weight we're using right now is about 60% of my max, so at that level I typically won't use a belt. I find that it's best to try and stimulate my core and strengthen it with as much weight as I can handle before relying on the belt for added support. So for this set I won't be using the belt. Perfect.
Set up under the center of the bar, resting the bar in the middle of your traps just above the shoulder blades. Take a wide grip on the bar, squeezing your shoulder blades back together, and take a deep breath in before you unrack the bar. Step back into your squat stance using as few steps as possible. Your feet should be wider than shoulder width, toes pointed out, in line with the knees. Make sure your back is tight and your core is engaged when you unrack the bar. Take a deep breath in, lift the bar from the rack, and step back into position with as few steps as possible. Before you squat, take another deep breath in, then initiate the movement by sitting your hips back. Your knees should still be tracking in line with your feet. Hold your air in and maintain an upright torso as you reach the bottom position. As you drive up from the bottom, maintain even pressure throughout both feet and lock out with a strong contraction of your glutes. The advanced variation of this movement is the front squat. It involves supporting the weight in front of you across your collarbone and shoulders. If you have enough flexibility in your wrists and shoulders, support the bar with your palms facing up and your elbows extended upwards in front of you. If you find this position too uncomfortable, You can also hold the bar across your chest and shoulders with your arms crossed in front of you and your hands holding the bar with an overhand grip, as shown here. Either way, you must keep your elbows high to control the weight and prevent it from rolling forward. With the jump squat, lower yourself under control to a full squat position. Then explosively extend your legs and drive yourself upwards, jumping as high as possible. As you land, allow yourself to lower back into the squat position under control. Never land with straight legs. Keep your knees lined up with your feet for proper force generation. Don't let your knees fall in towards each other. Sit your hips back and maintain a neutral spine as you lower yourself into the squat.